Are you looking to build your own website and grow your business? Maybe you're looking to learn how to design websites to make money as a freelancer. Whatever the case may be, Elementor is an absolute gem. It's an easy-to-use drag-and-drop page builder with unlimited creative capabilities. I was able to create this professional and flashy website using Elementor's free software, and I was able to do it in only 1 hour. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Create a Pro website. My name is Levi Hagan, and I'll be showing you how to build this exact website step by step. Here at Create a Pro website, we're dedicated to showing you how to build your own website and how to start making money online with our free in-depth tutorials. If you're new to the channel, check out the rest of our videos to see what I'm talking about. We show you how to build complete online stores from start to finish, how to make affiliate marketing websites, as well as how to make business sites like the one we're going to work on today. The website I'm going to be building today is for more of like a gourmet high-end restaurant, but you could easily swap out the images and text and make this apply to any other business. I'm going to show you how to customize a hero section with a call to action button. Then I'm going to put in an about section to tell your customers about your company, followed by a quote from the owner with a cool video. I'm even going to include a photo gallery section, which I'm going to use for my menu, but you could easily swap out the images for things like projects. Towards the bottom, I'll have a newsletter sign up and a testimonial section, and finally, a contact. I'll even show you how to create a free logo for your business. Now, this video is aimed towards the absolute beginner of web design. If you've never created a website before, that's okay. We're going to make the entire website using Elementor, so you won't need any previous experience or knowledge of coding. During this tutorial, you can use the right and left arrow keys to go forward or backwards by 5 seconds. I also put timestamps of this video down in the description, so you can skip ahead or go back at any time. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with step number 1, which is to get a domain name and web hosting. We're going to be getting a custom domain name for your website, as well as web hosting. Now, a domain name is just the address to your website. It's what people will enter into the search bar to find your site. So something like yourwebsite.com. And web hosting is just renting space on a server somewhere that's connected to the internet, so that you can store all of your media and files on the website. Now, there are web hosting companies that have buildings full of these servers, and they also offer you 24/7 support in case anything happens to your website. If you want to own your own website and have a custom domain name for it, then you have to purchase your own web hosting, which I'll show you how to do in this tutorial. And I'm going to give you a massive discount for it as well. Yeah, you can get a free website, but it comes with a lot of limitations. Like, you don't actually own your domain name. It'll be something like yourwebsite.wix.com or .squarespace.com or whoever's hosting the website. It could even be a random string of numbers and letters that you don't even get to choose. You also cannot upload new themes in order to customize your website exactly the way you want it. You can't upload plugins to increase the functionality of your website. You can't monetize your website with ads in order to make money from it. And your website could be deleted at any time because you don't technically own it. So for these reasons, I personally recommend getting web hosting because it places you in control. So in order to get your domain and hosting, just click on the very first link down in the description or go to createaprowebsite.com/hosting, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. Now, clicking on my affiliate link, which I do receive a commission from, will give you that massive discount on your web hosting plan. This will also save you a lot of money, so I definitely recommend it. Now, this is a special co-branded landing page that I have with HostGator, and we make it really easy. All you have to do is click on this Buy Now right here, and it will take you to the 3 different plans that HostGator offers. Right off the bat, you can see that they offer 3 different plans. We've got the Hatchling plan, the Baby plan, and the Business plan. And I only recommend the Baby and the Business plan once your business starts to take off or you decide to start making multiple websites, because as you can see, it gives you unlimited websites for both of these. The Hatchling plan is perfect for if this is your first website and you're just trying to get started. So this is the one that I'm going to use for the tutorial and the one that I also recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Buy Now. All right. So this is where we get to try out our very own custom domain name to see if it's available. So I'm going to try something like this. And then you can click out of the search bar to see if it's available. And I forgot to mention, right up here is where you would go to this tab if you already have your own domain name and you're just trying to transfer it over. All right, so once the search bar highlights green just like this, you know that your domain is available. If it highlights red, you just have to try some different variations of it to see what's available. It's like picking a new username. And as you can see, we can choose .com right here or any of the others, and it also gives you the same thing, the options down below. So we've got .club, site, net, and a whole bunch of different ones. I usually recommend a .com because it's the most professional looking and it's also the most common that people are going to look for when they're looking for your website. So I'm going to go ahead and leave .com. Now, before we get to number 2, you can see right here, domain privacy protection. This is actually an important part right here. So it's billed annually, so it's $14.95 per year. So it's pretty cheap. So it basically protects your personal information from telemarketers and solicitors who are going to try and call you or email you regarding different services that they'd love to sell you on for your website. And so it gets pretty annoying when you start getting spammed with phone calls and emails and texts. And so I always leave the domain privacy protection on. But it is the additional $14.95. And all you have to do if you don't want it is just click the checkbox to turn it off. All right. So next for 2, we've got choose a hosting plan. And we already did it, but this is where you can change from the hatchling to the baby plan or the business plan. And you can also change whenever you want, but I'm just going to leave it on the hatchling plan. And then over here, we've got the billing cycle. So keep in mind, you're doing your domain name for 1 year. So if you want to make the hosting for 1 year as well, you can just click right here. And so then they would sync up. You can do it for 36 months, which obviously you get the biggest discount when you sign up for the longest contract, or you can do 1 month and then you're billed monthly right here. I'm going to go ahead and stick to 1 month. Okay, so number 3 is creating your HostGator account. So all you have to do is enter in your email and a password. So you're just creating an account with HostGator. I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to step number 4, which is entering your billing information. And all you have to do is enter in your personal credit card info, or you can select PayPal. So I'll go ahead and see you guys in a second. Okay, so I went ahead and entered in my billing information, and I scrolled on down to number 4. So for the additional services section, what I'm going to do is actually uncheck both of these boxes. It's $2 per month, but it's billed annually. So I'm going to be taking off $23 here and $23 here. The reason I'm unchecking both of these boxes is because I show you how to do this for free on the channel in other videos, and I can leave those links down in the description. All right. So now go ahead and go down to number 5, and this is where you have to enter in the coupon code. Now, if you went to my affiliate link, createaprowebsite.com/hosting, this would automatically be inserted for you. Now, this is my affiliate coupon code, so I receive a commission from it, but it's also what's giving you that huge discount on your hosting. All right, so number 6 is where we get to review our order details. And so you can see that the domain registration for 1 year went from $18 all the way down to $5, and so that's the discount you get with my affiliate link. And then we've got the hatchling plan for 1 month is it went from $11 down to $8, so that's not too bad. And then the hosting add-ons, this is the domain privacy protection that's billed annually. And as you can see, it comes out to $29.10 after, tax and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and agree to the terms of service and stuff and check out now. And now HostGator is setting up your account, so it'll just take a few minutes. I'll see you guys then. All right, so now HostGator has completed setting up our account, and so I'm just going to click on View My Dashboard. All right, so now that we're in our dashboard, we can go ahead and move on to step number 2, which is to install WordPress. Now, HostGator makes installing WordPress really easy. There's 2 ways to do it. The first way would be to just go to the domain that you want to right here on your dashboard and click on Install WordPress. But as you can see, I've got multiple domains under this HostGator account. So I'm going to go over to the hosting tab right here. And as you can see, I can make sure that I'm clicking manage on the specific domain name that I want to work on. So this is the Sebastian's Table, CAPW for Create a Pro Website. And so I'm going to click on manage. And from here, I can click on install WordPress right here. All right, and then I'm just going to click on install now. Perfect. So now we're installing WordPress to our specific domain name. And the way you make sure is you look right here to make sure that your actual domain name is here. You can click on the down arrow if you have multiple domains, but this is the correct one. So you want to make sure you choose the correct version of WordPress to install. And so as you can see, we're doing the newest one, which is 5.7.2. Scroll on down a little bit. I've got my site settings. So I have the site name and description. And so if I were to look up HostGator, for instance, this is the site title and this is the site description right here. So this is actually what we're setting up right now. So for the site name, I'm going to say Sebastian's Table. And then for the description, perfect. Just something I made up just for fun. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go down to the admin account. Now, this is a really important step. We've got the admin username and password. You're basically creating your own admin account. This is really important because you have to remember this every time you want to log in and edit your website. So we've got a username, password, and email. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this in right now. For my username, I'll just say Levi. And then for my password, I will say, all right. And then I can also go ahead and enter in my admin email. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down a little bit. So the next step is to choose a language, which I speak English, so I'm just going to leave it on that. And then for select plugins, advanced options, and selecting a theme, these are just options that will help you install a little bit faster and move along in your work before you even get to your dashboard. But I'm going to show you guys how to do all of this step by step. So go ahead and skip all of this and just go down to install. Now it's going to take a minute for WordPress to install, so I'll see you guys then. Perfect. So now you can see that WordPress was installed successfully, and it's going to give you something called the administrative URL right here. So this is a really important URL to remember. It's pretty simple. It's just your actual domain name. So sebastianstablecapw.com/WP for WordPress -admin, because you're the admin. So I usually just remember it, WP-admin, and that's what I type into the back just to log in. But you can also go ahead and open it up on a new tab and then just bookmark it. So now that I've opened it on a new tab, let's go ahead and take a look at our website. Now, as you can see, it says your connection's not private. If it shows you something like this or anything else, like this page doesn't exist or any kind of an error, it just means that your site needs to propagate first. And propagation just means that HostGator has to take the new domain name that you just registered and send it all the way across the world to all servers everywhere and let everyone know that your new domain is registered and that you own it. Now, this can take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour or an entire day. So what I usually do is just keep coming back every once in a while and hitting the refresh button like this to see if it finished propagating. Now, once you finally hit refresh and it takes you to a page that looks like this, that's when you know you're ready to edit your website. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and type in my admin username and password, the one that we created earlier. And just like that, we are now in our WordPress dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that, and we don't need these tabs anymore either. All right, so now that we're in WordPress dashboard, we can go ahead and move on to step number 3, which is to install a theme. So in order to install a theme, we're going to go over to the left-hand side over here on the main menu, and we're going to go down to Appearance, hover over it, and then click on Themes. Now I'm going to open mine up on a new tab. And then from here, we can see that the active theme is the 2021 standard or default WordPress theme. And so let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. If you ever want to preview your website, just hover over your website name, and you can either click on the name or click on Visit Site. I don't know why they have both, but you just click on it like this. I'm going to open mine up on a new tab. Boom. So this is what our website looks like so far. It's pretty boring, just, green and black text, but we're going to be changing this very soon. So the first thing we're going to do is change the theme. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New Theme. And over here in the search bar, I'm going to look for something called Astra, which it's right here. Perfect. And now you can see that Astra is another theme. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on Install Now and Activate. Perfect. And now you can double check the active theme is Astra, and it's no longer the 2021, which is over here. So now if we preview our website, you'll see that it looks completely different. And I think it looks much better, even though it's far from being done. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And we can go ahead and close out of this tab as well. So now we are back on our WordPress dashboard. From here, we can go ahead and move on to step number 4, which is to install plugins. So in order to do that, we're just going to go over to the Plugins tab right here on the left-hand side, hover over it, and then click on Add New. All right. From here, we're going to go ahead and add 3 plugins. Now, you can think of a plugin as just downloadable software that can add functionality to your website. You can think of this Add Plugins tab, so where we are right now for the Add New tab, you can think of this as the App Store, and then you can think of all of these plugins like apps on your phone. So we're going to go ahead and search for 3 different apps or plugins, and so I'm going to search for Elementor. And this is that easy to use drag and drop page builder that I mentioned earlier in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Install Now and Activate. And I'm going to repeat that process 2 more times. So I'm going to go back over to the left-hand side under Plugins, go to Add New, and I'm going to search Elementor again. And this time I'm going to click on Essential Add-ons for Elementor. Now this plugin essentially just gives you 40 additional free elements or widgets that you can use within Elementor. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Install Now and Activate. And one more time to the Plugins tab, click Add New. This time I'm going to search for Astra. And we're looking for starter templates right here. Now, starter templates just gives you 300 ready-to-use website templates, and so this is going to save us a lot of work. So I'm going to go ahead and click Install Now and Activate. And now Starter Templates is going to ask what kind of page builder we're going to use. So you've got Brizy, Beaver Builder, Elementor, and Gutenberg. So I'm going to make sure I select Elementor. Perfect. And now you can go ahead and scroll through the Starter Templates library and look at all of these different websites that you can download. If it has the word premium above it, that basically means that you have to go to the paid version or the premium version of this app. I can go up to the top and I can select different types of websites like a blog website, a business website, or an e-commerce website. And I can also decide whether I only want to display free, premium, or all templates. So let's try free templates and then go down to business websites. Now these are all free websites that you can use and start editing and customizing right away. But enough about that for now. Let's go ahead and move on to step number 5, which is to customize your website. Now, in order to customize your website, we have to go ahead and actually add a page to your site. So let's go ahead and close out of the Starter Templates tab, and we're going to go over to the Pages tab and click on it. From here, you can see we've got 2 different pages. We've got the privacy policy page and a sample page. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these pages and go to Bulk Actions and say Move to Trash, and then click Apply. So now we're starting with a fresh canvas. So I'm going to go up and click on Add New on the top corner here. And now you're welcomed to the WordPress block editor, but we're not going to be using this for very long, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of this guy. The only thing we're really going to do is click here and type in Homepage. This is the title of the page, and so it's appropriate that I just call it what it is, which is the homepage. And then the last thing we're going to do is go over here to the right-hand side. We can close Astra settings and go over to Page Attributes. And I'm going to change the template down to Elementor Full Width, which is basically saying that I want Elementor to take up the entire width of the page because Elementor is separate from Astra. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and click on Publish and Publish again to save my work. All right, so now Homepage is live. So let's go ahead and try editing it with Elementor. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here on Edit with Elementor. All right, everyone, welcome to Elementor. This is that easy to use drag and drop page builder that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. Now, right off the bat, you can see that we've got a plus button, a folder button, and then a couple others right here. That's our starter templates. So if we click on this guy, we can actually get taken straight to that library that I was talking about earlier. You can also see right here the folder button, which is to add pages from Elementor's template library, which gives you even more templates that you can use for different websites. And you also have the blocks section here, which is basically portions of websites. So you could show something like an about section, or this looks like another about section. We could do archive sections, and so on. And then you can also click the plus button to build something from scratch. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to go ahead and select this double right here. Okay, so now just a little overview about the layout of a website under Elementor's theme. So the way that a website is laid out under Elementor is going to be sections, which is this blue box right here, and you can think of that as the background. Let me go ahead and make it just a little bit bigger for now. Perfect. So this blue part is the actual background, and then we've got columns inside of the section, and so these columns are these gray dotted lines right here. And then inside of columns, we can place widgets. And so if I click this plus button, I can go ahead and add a video widget, for instance, just like that. And so now we've got a widget, which is a video widget, inside of the column, which I have 2 columns, because you can see this other one right here. And those columns are inside of the section. Now, if I were to click on the video tab right here, I can click on this blue little pencil icon, and this is how I actually edit the video. If I want to edit a column, I can click on this gray little square right here. And now you can see it says edit this column. Or if I want to edit the background or the section, I can click on these 6 dots right here. And now it says edit section. When I'm editing anything, I've got 3 different tabs under Elementor. I've got the layout tab or the content tab. For instance, if I click on the video, you'll see that it says content. And that's where I would put in the YouTube link or something like that. I've got the style tab, which is where you can change things like background images, colors, borders, and shape dividers. And then I've got the Advanced tab, which usually we only spend a little bit of time in here for motion effects or for margins and padding, and I'll go over those later. If you ever want to add a new widget, you just go up to this Rubik's Cube icon in the top corner, And now I can look at every single widget that I can use in Elementor. Now, if we scroll up to the top, you'll see the basic widgets here, and this is usually what a website consists of, is these 6 widgets right here. We usually have buttons, videos, images, text, and just more text. An intersection I'll explain later. But we also have more like dividers. I can add a map to my website, icons. We've got the Pro section, which these are locked unless you pay for Elementor Pro version, but I'm using the free version right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and close up that folder. We've got the General tab, which has even more widgets that you can use for free. And then, if you remember, in the last step, we were installing plugins, and one of them was called Essential Add-ons for Elementor. These are those additional 40 widgets that I was talking about, and so there's a whole lot more. So if I wanted to add a heading, I would just drag it in and place it underneath the video. I can also click and drag this pencil icon and move the widget if I want to put it on top of the video, just like that. Or I can move it into another column, just like this. Now notice that I can't take this widget and place it out here in the section because widgets have to go inside of columns. If I were to drag outside and let go, it's just going to put it right back. Elementor also has a really cool right-click function where you can right-click on something and actually have options rather than it just showing the regular right-click for Apple or Windows. So from here, I can go ahead and right-click on anything like this section, or I can right-click on the column and edit the column, or right-click on the video and edit the video. I can duplicate the video and it'll add a second one right underneath, just like this. I can also right-click and say delete, just like this. All right, so let's try creating a hero section from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one right here by clicking on the delete section button. I could also click on the add section button and it allows me to add another section either from a folder like a block or a template or from scratch. But I'm going to delete this one. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and click on plus and select the single structure, which this is how many columns you're going to insert into your section. So I did 2 and it gave me 2 columns. If I click 1, it'll give me 1 column, as you can see. From here, I'm going to go to the Rubik's Cube icon and I'm going to drag in a heading just like this. I'm going to drag in a second heading, but instead of clicking over on the Rubik's Cube icon, I'm just going to go ahead and right-click and say duplicate. I'm going to go back to the Rubik's Cube icon and drag in a divider underneath. And lastly, I'll drag in a button as well. Now from here, I'm going to first edit the section by right-clicking anywhere in the blue square, as you can see, and clicking on Edit Section, or I could click on those 6 dots right here. First, I'm going to go back to the height and change it to fit to screen. And that's going to make my section fit to the screen right here. So I can scroll down and you'll see that it's right there. That's the bottom. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a background image. So I'm going to click on the Style tab. And under the background dropdown, I can go ahead and select my background type. So I'm going to choose classic, but I could also choose a gradient, a video, or a slideshow in the background. But I'm going to go ahead and just go classic. And under classic, I could either select a color like this, or I could select an image, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to click on image right here. Now I can upload a file, or I can go to my media library, which is going to be empty at the moment. But I can go to upload files and click on select files. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose this image right here. And then I click insert image. Perfect. So now you can see I've got my image in the background. Next, I'm going to change the position to be center, so it focuses on the center of the image. And then I'm going to change the size to cover, which will stretch the image perfectly to the edges of my screen. And then I'm going to change it to no repeat, just in case. All right. From here, I'm going to go ahead and add a background overlay. So I'll click on the background overlay dropdown, choose the classic type, and select black as my color. From here, I can change the opacity so I can make it very dark or completely transparent, but I'm going to go with something like 60%, just like that. Next, I can go ahead and edit my heading text. So this first one, I can click here and I can actually start editing straight on the page. And then for the second heading, I can go ahead and edit here or over here on the left-hand side. Perfect. For this top text, I can go ahead and go up to the Style tab, and I can change the text color to be white if I want to. just like this. Now I'm going to center the text, go back to the content, and click on the alignment center. Back to the style tab, I can change the typography. So I can change the size of the text by dragging the slider just like this. So I'll make this one kind of small. And I can choose a different font. Just like this. And I can transform it to be all uppercase if I want to, but it's already in uppercase because I did that on purpose. So next I can go ahead and click on the secondary title right here. And let's go ahead and capitalize Austin. Now I can go and center the alignment again. And then I can go to the Style tab, change the text color to white. The typography I'm going to change as well. First, let's increase the size dramatically so it's a little bit bigger, just like this. And then I can go ahead and change the weight if I want to, so it could be really thin text, but I think I'll leave it at like 300 or something like that. Transform it to uppercase. I can change the style if I want to italic, but I'm going to leave it. I can also change the letter spacing so I can spread it out just a little bit more. I think that looks pretty good. So next, I'm going to go down to the divider. So I can click on the divider, or you can right click and say edit the divider just like this. First, just so you can see it, I'm going to change the color to white. So under the style tab, change the color. I'll go back to the content tab. I'm going to center the divider, which doesn't look like it does anything right now, but as I reduce the width, you can see that the actual divider is shrinking. If I had it set to left, you can see the divider will shrink to the left like this. And so I want it centered. I'm going to shrink the divider a little bit more, so something like this. I'm going to go to the Style tab and change the weight up to something like 3, which will make it a lot thicker. And then you can also change the gap, which is just the spacing like this. And so I think where it was just fine, something like that. Now lastly, I can click on the button and say edit the button. I'm going to go ahead and center the button. And from here, I can change the type, which I usually never do, but you can change the text. So I'm going to say book a table. This link right here is where you would actually put the URL. So if they click on this button, where they're going to be taken, basically. And then we can go ahead and change the size from small, medium, or large. So I'll make it a medium button, something like this. And I can also change, if I want an icon, I can go ahead and choose one from the library, for instance. So let's just pick a random one. And then I can actually change the icon spacing as well. And I can say if I want it before or after the text. So now it'll move the icon to the right-hand side. But I don't want an icon in the button. And the spacing can go back to 0. From here, I can go over to the Style tab and change how the button looks. So the typography can change if I want it to. And the only thing I'm going to change here is I'm going to transform the text to uppercase. And I'm going to thin it out to something like 200. So something like this. Maybe a little bit thicker. I think 300 looks perfect. From here, I can change the letter spacing as well, so I'm going to increase it just a little bit. Actually, I kind of like it closer, so I'm going to leave it like this. So for the text color, I'm going to go ahead and change it to black, just like this, but you can change it to whatever color you want. And then I'm going to change the color to white, just like this. Next, what I'm going to do is decrease the border radius. If I were to increase the border radius without putting a border, it will just curve the edges of the button. So for instance, first let me go ahead and show you what a border looks like. So if I add one, you can see that now it's got this black color border all the way around, which is the default color, but you can make it red if you want to, and now I've got a red border. I can increase the width like this, and then the border radius, if I go up, you'll see it makes it more curved, and if I go back to 0, it's very edgy like this. But I'm going to go ahead and remove the border. But I will decrease my border radius back to 0 so it makes the edges of the button more rectangular like this. Lastly, if you want, you could also add a box shadow. So you click here, and now you can see there's a little bit of a shadow, which is hard to see because my background is dark, but I could change the color if I wanted to. So let's make it bright red like this and increase the opacity. Now you can see there's like this box shadow around it. And then I can go ahead and choose the horizontal and vertical points. And so basically it just drags the shadow left or right. So I could kind of make it like a left shadow and then down. So something like this if you want to. But vertical is up and down, obviously. And then I can change the blur. I'm going to keep it down here so you can see what this does. The blur will make it more blurry or practically sharp like this. And then the spread basically says how big you want the shadow. But I'm just going to click on back to default so it resets it to 0. Perfect. So now our background is looking pretty good. The last thing I'm going to do on the button is actually change the hover style as well. So right now, normal means when nothing is over it, but if I click on the hover style, whenever I hover my mouse over it, I can have a different animation, which I think always looks more professional. So I'm going to leave the text color black, so I'm going to choose this and make it black, just like that. And then I'm going to change the hover color to maybe a light red. Now, I can also change the hover animation, but first, anytime I hover over the button, you can see that it hovers to a red color. And of course, if I wanted to, I could change the color to anything, so if I wanted to make it more of like an orange, now it hovers to orange, so that's cool. And I can also change the hover animation, so I can say grow if I want to, so anytime I hover over the button, it does this growing animation as well. You have a lot of different hover animations, like pulse grow, or you've got one that says bounce in. Most of these get a little bit cheesy, and so I usually only stick to grow or shrink, because shrink just does the opposite. It makes it a little bit smaller. And it doesn't bounce, it's just one. But I'm going to leave it on grow. Now, if you ever want to save your work, all you have to do is go to the bottom corner right here and click on this green update button. So now we can go ahead and take a look at what our website's going to look like. And the way you do that is click on preview changes right here, right next to the update button. And it's going to open your website up on a new tab. Perfect. Now, just like this is our website so far. And as you can see, there's nothing below it because we only created one section. But at least you have a taste of how easy this can be. And then if I were to click on book a table right now, it's not going to take me anywhere because we didn't set a link. Now, if we did set a link, it would take us somewhere. All right, so now that you guys have followed along and built a beautiful hero section, what we're going to do next is completely delete it. Because I'm going to show you guys how to install a template to save yourself a whole lot of time and effort. Now, if you really like the hero section that you've built, you can save it and start building the website down below, but I would recommend starting with me on the template. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this section right here. And you can click on update to save your work, but honestly it doesn't matter because we're going to be downloading a new page. If you want to get back to your dashboard, I already have the tab open, but the way you close out of Elementor is you click on this hamburger icon right up here, and you say exit to WordPress dashboard. And this will take you back to the editing page, and then you can also just click on this icon right here, and now you're back in your WordPress dashboard. So next what we're going to do is go down to the Appearance tab, and then go down to the Starter Templates, which is that extra plugin that I had us download earlier. From here, we can go ahead and look through all of these templates and pick one. If you ever want to look at one, all you have to do is click on it, and you can scroll through an entire preview of the website. And this one has multiple pages, so you can see it's got the About page, Services, Projects, and Contact page, just like this. You can always import the one page that you're on. So I'm on the contact page, so I can import the contact, or I could import the home page, just singular, or I could import the entire website. I'm going to click on the back button though. So I'm going to search for one called Coffee Shop. This one right here. This is the page that we're going to be downloading and creating our own custom website from. So I'm going to go ahead and click on import the complete site. You could do homepage because there's only one page and it's the exact same thing. And now your template's being downloaded, so you just have to wait a minute. So now our template has successfully been imported, and you can click on Visit Site right here. All right, and just like that, the entire template has been downloaded. You can go ahead and scroll through just to take a look at everything. I think it looks fantastic. It's going to be so easy to edit. And it also comes with a completely customized header navigation as well. So I'll be showing you guys how to work with this too. So now we could click on Edit with Elementor and get right into it, but first I want to make sure that we delete that other page before we forget. So I'm going to go back to my WordPress dashboard. We can close out of that guy. I'm going to go over to the Pages tab. And then the home page that we created, I'm just going to go ahead and trash it. Perfect. So now we've got our home page ready to go, and you can click on Edit with Elementor anytime you want. So I'll go ahead and do it here and just close out of this tab. All right, so now that we're in Elementor, I'm going to go ahead and edit this website section by section so you guys can follow along. So let's go ahead and hop into the hero section. So the first thing I want to do is click on the 6 dots to edit the section, just like we talked about earlier. And I want to go over to the Style tab so I can change this background image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the delete button, or you can just click on it like this and we can swap it out. It doesn't really matter. I just want to show you guys that you can do that. And I'm going to go ahead and click on upload files so I can select my own files. And then I'm going to pick this image right here. So I'll click on open. It'll take a second to load, and then I'll click on insert media. Perfect. So now I've got this giant burger in the background. It looks delicious. Oh my gosh. So now I can change the position, which it's already center, and this is usually what I use because I want it to focus on the center of the image. No repeat and cover, so this actually looks good. Now next I'm going to go down to the background overlay, and I'm going to change the color from black to complete black, well, because it was over here and I actually want it dark. And I think that looks great, and I can change the opacity if I want, so I can darken it up or lighten it up depending on how you want to do it. So I think that looks pretty good. So now that we have our background in order, I'm going to go ahead and click on my first header right here, which is actually a divider, because you see this line right here. So if I want, I can actually take the text out of here and then just drag the width across, and you'll see that it's actually a divider line. So what I'm going to do is first actually remove the padding that's over here on the side of this column. So I'm going to right click and edit the column, which is the gray dotted line. Go to the advanced tab, and you'll see that on the right hand side, we've added padding. So I'm just going to remove it because that was part of the template. And now everything gets dragged over. So if I were to center this text with padding, for instance, and then I click on this text and say center, you'll see that it doesn't actually center inside of this box because I've got extra padding on the side. So if I were to right click and edit this column, advanced tab, and remove it, boom, now it's actually centered. All right, so now let's do the same thing to the divider, which is kind of invisible right now, but if I move, you'll see the divider's right there. It's just right on the line. So let's click on it. Perfect. First thing I'm going to do so you guys can see it is increase the gap and increase the weight. Let's do something like 2.5, I think. Actually, let's go something like 1.5 or 2. I think that looks good. And then the gap I can actually reduce just by a little bit. I'm going to go over to the content tab and add my own text. Perfect. I'm going to center it, so now it's in between just like this, and then I can also change the position of the text. The way I do that is go to the Style tab, click on the text, and I can say instead of being on the right-hand side of the divider, I want it to be in the center like this. And so now I've got dashes on both sides. I think that looks great. You can also play with the typography if you want to increase the size of the text inside of the divider, but I actually kind of like it small like this. The only thing I'm going to do is increase the letter spacing a little bit. Maybe decrease the size. Actually, I kind of like it like that. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and edit my title. So I'm just going to click on it and actually just edit it straight on the page. Perfect. So Sebastian's table right here. I can go to the Style tab, go to Typography, and transform it to uppercase so it looks much better. And I'm also going to change the font family to something like Work Sans, because I like this one a lot, so it makes it very straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the weight down to something like 300. Let's try 200. Perfect. I'm going to increase the letter spacing as well and increase the size. And let's go ahead and max it out just like that. Lastly, we'll right click and click on edit the button, and I want to make it center, so I'm going to move the alignment over to the middle just like this. And I actually like the button for the most part, but I'm going to change it so that it's actually white before I have to hover on it. So let's go ahead and do that. But first of all, if you ever want to link this button to something, which I'm actually going to link it to this contact section down here, what I'm going to do is actually leave the hashtag, because the hashtag is a placeholder, but it also, if left in front of a word, will take it to that CSS ID. And I'll explain the CSS ID later. But for now, I'm just going to say contact. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do is hook this button up to connect to the contact section down here. So if they want to book a table, they just have to call. Scroll up to the top here. So while I'm editing the button, let's just go ahead and type out book a table. And then I think everything else looks good here, but I'm actually going to change the button to be a large. Or let's do a medium instead. I'm going to go over to the Style tab. And let's go ahead and change the typography. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the pencil icon. So transform it to uppercase just like this. Increase the letter spacing just a little bit. Decrease the weight to something like 400. I think that looks good. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then we can change the text color to be black. And I can change the background color to be white. Perfect. So now we have to change the hover animation when you hover over the button. And first of all, I actually want the text size to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to shrink it up just a little bit, just like this. Okay, so now still under the button tab, we're going to go down to the hover color. And we will say the text color is going to be white still. I say still, but just like this. It went from black to white. And then for the color, I'm actually going to change the color. So let's go ahead and do an orange color, so something like this. Perfect. So hover over the button, and it changes it to an orange color. And I'll make it fully saturated just like this. And the last thing I'm going to do is actually just remove the border just like this. Perfect. So now we went ahead and changed the text and everything. I actually think I want the button just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go back to the Content tab and make it a large button. So now it's a little bit bigger, and I think that looks great. And also, because we put hashtag contact, if we click on the button, it's actually going to take us straight to the contact section. And I might as well explain it now. The CSS ID for this section is called contact. So let me show you guys how you do that. You have to edit the section just like this. Go to the Advanced tab, and you'll see right here the CSS ID, which I didn't do this, but it's called contact. And that came with the template. So now, as long as the CSS ID is contact, anywhere, like any button that I set to go hashtag contact, it will take them to this section, just like this. And you'll see it. Add your custom ID without the pound key. And then any button that you want to send to this ID, you just put the pound key. So all you have to do is go to your button, edit it, and in the link, put a pound key and then contact. And then it'll take them straight to that section. So for instance, if I were to label, this as the About section, I could edit this section, go to the Advanced, and it looks like they already did it, so that's cool. So all I would have to do under this button is go to the Link section and say About, just like this. And then if I click on it, it takes them to this section. But I like it taking them to the Contact section. Perfect. So now that this hero section is done, we can go ahead and click on Update to save our work. Perfect. And just like that, we've got this super cool looking hero section. It also has a parallax effect, which is my favorite part. That comes with the template, but let me show you guys how that's done. And then also, if they were to click on Book a Table, it takes them straight down to the bottom, just like this. Perfect. One last thing, well, two more things, because I want to show you guys how they do the parallax effect, but I also want to add some motion effects to this. So, close out of this tab. First of all, the parallax effect, if we click anywhere in the section or right click and then click on Edit Section, and then we can go over to the Style tab and drop down to Attachment, and right now it's fixed. If I set it to Scroll or Default and then start scrolling, you'll see that the image stays with the scrolling of the screen. But if I change it down to Fixed, that's where you have the parallax effect where it looks like it's kind of in the background like that. Cool. So update one more time to save. And then lastly, I want to add some motion effects. So first of all, I want to add motion effects to all three of these. Now I can add them individually, so have this have a motion effect, this one, and then this one individually, or I could just click on the actual column and change it all together. So that's what I'm going to do. Go to the Advanced tab, and I can go to Motion Effects, and then under Motion Effects, I'm going to go down to Fade In, and then I'll change the duration to Slow. And so now, as you can see, the text kind of fades in like that. So let's go ahead and click Update, and then I'll preview it. Boom. Just like that, my text fades in nice and slow. I think that looks pretty professional, especially for how this website looks. It looks like a fancy restaurant. All right, so let's go ahead and close out of that tab. I think our hero section is done, so let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which is the About section. And so here I'm only going to change a few things. So the first thing is I want to make sure that this divider is going to be the same color orange as the rest of the website. And so I'm going to go over to the Style tab and change the color. Now there's one thing that I want to show you guys how to do, and that's how to set up global colors right here. So that instead of having to copy and paste a hex code or drag this divider around, I can set the exact same orange color that I put here all the way throughout the rest of the website. So before we continue, let's do that really fast. So the way we do that is we just go ahead and click up here on this little hamburger icon to go into the settings of Elementor. But first I want to make sure I grab this orange color. So I'm going to, So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button and edit it. And I'm just going to copy that color hex code. So I'm going to go to the Style tab and go to the hover color. And so there's my orange. I'm going to go in here and copy this. And then go into the hamburger icon and go to Site Settings. And then from here, I'm just going to go to Global Colors. And now we can change those 4 colors that come up when I click on that little global icon. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this one here. Well, actually, first I'm going to make this one black. I'll make this one white. I'll make this one my orange. Just like that. And then we can make this one a light gray. So something like this. Perfect. And don't pay attention to these texts right here because you can literally just type whatever you want. Just like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on Update to Save. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the X right here. And that will close out of the Settings tab and bring me back to my website. So now back on the About section, I can go ahead and click on this divider and click on the globe right here. And now you see my black, white, orange, and gray. And so I can just select orange. And I'm going to do the same thing by clicking on this header text right here, going to the Style tab and changing the text color to orange. Perfect. And then also, because I live in Texas, I'm going to change this guy as well. Perfect. So the finest restaurant in Austin, Texas, because I live here in Austin, Texas. And then this over here is just dummy text, and of course you can just click on it and then type out whatever you want right here. Lastly, what we're going to do is put a background image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Section. So I basically just right-clicked on the actual, remember, the background area, or you can click on these 6 dots here. I'll go over to the Style tab, and I can change the background to Classic, which can either be a color or an image. And so I'm going to choose an image, go over to Upload Files and select Files. And then I'm going to choose this image right here and insert the media. Perfect. So now that's in the background. And then I'm also going to go down to the background overlay and choose the classic type. And this time I'm going to choose a color and I'm just going to make it white. So it's going to lighten up the background just like that. So now you can see my text a lot easier, but I'm actually going to go even more and make it very, very bright. So something like this. So you can barely see the food in the background because you really want the text to actually pop out. One thing else you could do is actually change this about text to be a little bit bigger, so I could increase the size if I want to. Make it a little bit stronger. That way it's easier to see. All right, I think this about section looks pretty good, so I'm going to click Update to save my work. And of course, this is where you would actually put the content that you have relating to your business, like the About Us or About You if it's like a portfolio site, so whatever you want to do. So next, let's move to this testimonial section right here. And so this is where you would copy and paste whatever testimonials you have from actual customers, but because I don't have an actual customer for this fake business and fake website, I'll just go ahead and type out my own. Perfect, so something like that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and change the style of the text. So I'll go over to the Style tab and change the typography. And let's see, I'm going to choose a different font, and I think I'm going to choose the work sans that I chose for the header as well of the hero section. Something like this. We'll resize it so it's a little bit smaller. And then I am going to leave it as the default like this. You could make it uppercase if you want to, but I don't think there's any need for it. Maybe increase the thickness or the weight. So let's try 500. Actually, I still like 400. Okay. Perfect. I think that looks great. And then I'm going to go ahead and just leave Ethan Hunt, which is the owner, just saying this. Now, this is just an icon, so you can click on it. And here's the icon right here. And you can actually change the icon to whatever you want. And then you can also search. So if I said camera, I could choose a camera icon or something. And then after you choose it, you can go to the Style tab and you can change the size of it. You can rotate it. You can change the color, things like that. But I'm going to leave it the way it is. And then next, I'm going to change this background image to a really cool video that I found. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click and edit the section. I'll go over to the Style tab. And under background type, I'm going to change it to video. And now you can see right here that the video link is where I'm going to paste in my YouTube URL. And so that's where you would open a new tab and go to YouTube, and you could find out some kind of a video. You can also do other links. It doesn't have to be a YouTube video link. It could be anything, but they just give the example as YouTube. And I mean, YouTube is really easy. So I could search something, but I've already got one. And so it's this really cool cinematic burger video. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that URL right here. Click enter. And then you can choose when you want the video to start and when you want it to end. And then also if you want it to play once or keep looping through. So I'm going to make sure that I don't check this box. I don't want to say yes here because then it's only going to play once and then stop. So I want it to keep looping. Next, I'm going to change the start time to 35. And the end time is going to be 52. And so now I've got this really cool cinematic of burgers and lettuce and tomatoes in the background. I think it looks pretty professional. The last thing I'm going to do is just make sure that the background overlay is dark enough. So I'm going to click on the background overlay tab, and I'm actually going to increase it to 0.5, maybe 0.6. Let's go with 0.6, and then I'm also going to darken it. So it looks like right now it's not completely black, so I'm just going to drag it down to black. Or you could click on the global and click black right here. And so now it's a little bit darker. I think that looks fantastic. All right, so I think our testimonial section looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and click update to save my work. So let's move on to the next section, which is the menu section. Now, this menu is essentially just a photo gallery, and so all you would have to do is replace this easily and make it something like a photo gallery, or it could be a project section, and you just have images of different projects that you're doing, or if you're a photographer, you would do different photo shoots that you have, or whatever it may be. But for this website, I'm building a website for a restaurant as a business site, and so that's what it's going to be, is the menu. And so funny thing, I'm actually going to have us delete this entire menu because I'm going to show you guys how to use something called a filterable gallery, which makes it way better than just scrolling through and finding what you want. So let's go ahead and delete everything. I'm actually going to keep the top two header texts, and I'm just going to delete all of these. And so it's going to be a bit of a process. I'm just going to right click on this and say delete, and just keep going until I delete all of them. So right click and delete. I'll see you guys in just a hot second. Okay, so now I've deleted everything. The next thing I'm going to go do is come over here to the search widget box. And if you don't see this, you have to click on this Rubik's Cube icon right up here. So for instance, if I was editing something, you just click on the Rubik's Cube icon and it takes you here. And I'm going to search filter. And you'll see filterable gallery right here. And so I'm just going to drag that bad boy right underneath my subtitle. Boom. And now we have a filterable gallery. And so this is really cool because I've got different objects that I could hover over and it'll give a description. So each menu item, I don't have to have text underneath. They just look like clean images. And when someone hovers over, for instance, if this was a sandwich, I could say what's in the sandwich. So that'd be pretty cool. And then they can click on different filters like this gallery item, and there would be multiple. Like one would be food, one would be drinks. And then when I click on them, different images will appear, which is pretty cool. So first, let's start by editing the header text. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our menu. I like how it says our menu, but I am going to change the style. So I'm going to change the text color to orange. I'm going to go over to typography, and I'm going to try something a little bit more fun. So I'm going to go with just another hand. And so it makes it look like this. And I am going to make it huge. So our menu, nice and clear, just like that. Perfect. And then this would be your subtitle text. So you could say our menu, and then you could maybe say like breakfast is served from this time to this time, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to leave that just the way it is as dummy text. So let's go ahead and edit this next. So I'm going to go and edit the filterable gallery. You've got items to show, and right now it's showing 6 items. If I were to have more than 6 items, it would only show 6, and then you'd have to click like a next button or something like that. Personally, I always set this to how many actual images I have. You can do however many columns you want. So right now there are 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. But if I change it to 2, for instance, you'll only have 2 columns. I'm going to leave it as 3. You can do different styles like grid or masonry style. And so it doesn't look much different, to be honest, but I mean, it's a different style, so that's cool. And so you can change image height, you can do layout and stuff like that. So overlay, card, or search and filter, which I'm just going to leave as overlay. You can do a hover style. And so the hover style is when I have my mouse over it, how it does this. And so slide up, or I could say fade in. And then it just fades in instead of sliding up or whatever. But I'm going to leave it to slide up. You can tell it to either use buttons or none. And so that's these buttons right here that pop up. And so one of them is Lightbox and the other one is the link icon. And so for instance, if I click on this plus button, it's going to open up a Lightbox so I can look at the image, and then I can also click through them, which you don't see anything happening right now, but I mean, trust me, it's going through each individual image like this. So I'll close out of that guy. And so that's what these two buttons do. If I click on this button, it will take them to whatever link I set up, which is down here under gallery items. Go to gallery name. And you can set each individual link to go somewhere. So that's pretty cool. But under the general settings, you can also change the icon. So right now it's that magnifying glass and it looks like a chain link. You can click on it and then just choose whatever icon you want. So if you want it to be a search bar, for instance, you just click on that and click on insert. But I'm going to leave it just the way it is. Okay, so next what I want to do is start adding images, and then I'm also going to make this border be a little bit bigger so it looks like it's in like this hovering white box. And so in order to do that, let's actually edit the box first. So I'm going to go to the Style tab, and under the padding, I'm just going to increase it on all sides. Just like that. And so now we've got space all the way around, so I'll go up to like 30. I think that looks good. And then I'm also going to go to the border radius and curve it so that these edges aren't sharp. I want them to be rounded. So something like this. Perfect. Okay, so now that we've done the background, let's go ahead and edit each individual image. And the way you do that is you go to the Content tab right here. Let's close the Settings drop down, and we'll go down to the Gallery items. And this is where we're going to insert each individual image. Now, one thing that I actually forgot that I want to show you first would be the filterable controls. And so that's going to be these controls up here, so gallery item. So close gallery items first. We'll insert the images last so that once the images are inserted, we can go ahead and click on these and I'll show you what they do. But for filterable controls, you'll see that gallery item, which is right here, is able to be edited if you click on it. And so I'm going to change this to food. And then I'm going to click add item. So I get a second one, and I'm going to change this to drinks. Just like that. And so now I've got food and I've got drinks. And so when you click on food, only the food items are going to show up. And when you click on drinks, only the drinks, of course. And then all would be all the images. It's pretty self-explanatory. So now let's go ahead and finally insert all of the individual content. So we're going to go ahead and close out of filterable, go to gallery items. And what you can do is actually delete all of these just by clicking on the X button. And let's edit the first one, and then we'll click on this, which is to duplicate it. And so this will save us a little bit of time. So for gallery item, the control name is basically what filter control, which remember we set them up here, which filter control do you want this to be under? And so I'm working on this image right here. And so let's just say I want this to be under the food tab. So I would type in food, just like this. And it can be lowercase because it's not paying attention to the case, like the capitalization of the letters. It's just paying attention to the exact letters here. So if you put food, for instance, if you put drink or drinks, just make sure you include or not include the S when we're doing this. And so gallery item name, it's going to be under food. And let's go ahead and title this one just sandwich, I guess. Perfect. And then from here, scroll on down and you can enter in some of the text, which when I hover over, it's going to be this dummy text right here. So you could put like sandwich, and then the description would be, you know, whatever's in the sandwich. So you could say like pickles, mustard, lettuce, tomato, whatever. And then you scroll on down a little bit more and we've got the image. So I'm going to click on this guy and then go to upload files, select files. And then I've got my menu images right here. So under food, I'll go ahead and insert all of these. And then I'll choose my actual sandwich here and click on insert media. Perfect. And so now I've got my first menu item. It's called a sandwich. You can click on this button here and look at it in all of its splendor and glory. And then we can close out of that as well. And then they could also click on the link, for instance, and this would take them wherever you want to go, like if you have a sandwich page or something like that. I don't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a drinks menu item. So I'm going to go back to the content tab right here and then scroll on down to the gallery items. And we see my sandwich. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it by clicking on this button right here. And so now I've got two sandwiches. I'm going to click on this first sandwich and I'll change this to drinks. And I'll change this to soda. And then I'm going to change the image down below. Select files, and then I'm going to go out one folder, go to the drinks folder, and then just make sure that my soda is selected and click on insert media. Perfect. So now I've got my soda right here, and it says soda. You can click on this button, and then you can actually go through the different images. And so there's my sandwich, and there's my soda. And then if I were to click on food, the soda disappears. If I click on drinks, then the sandwich disappears. And then if I click on all, they both appear. Okay, and so now what I can do is go back to my gallery items, and I can add a whole bunch of items. And so I'm not going to bore you guys with that. I'm going to do it off camera real fast. I'll see you guys in just a second. Welcome back, everybody. So I went ahead and updated the filterable gallery by adding everything into it. And so if we go over to the gallery items, just a quick review, all I did was make sure that I put a control name. So veggies are under food. And then I went ahead and named it, and then went down to the bottom and added an image. That was it. And so now you can scroll through and see the sandwich image, veggies, soda, pizza, fruity drink, and so on. And then we can go back up to the general tab and items to show. Instead of it being the original 6, just like this, I went ahead and changed it to 9. Perfect. So now this is what it looks like. And then of course, if I click on food, all of the drinks disappear. And if I click on drinks, all of the food disappears. And then I can go back to the whole menu. So I think that's pretty useful. So I'll just click on update to save my work. Perfect. So let's move on to the next section. And that's going to be our subscribe newsletter. So I can just click here and start changing the text if I want to. Honestly, I'm going to leave the title the way it is, except for I'm just going to change the style. So I'm going to go to the style tab. And then under typography, I'm going to change the font to something like Work Sans, which is what I used at the top. Perfect. I like that. I can change the size if I want to, so something like this. I think that looks good. I might increase the weight a little bit. Let's see, so 400 must have been where it was at. So 500 looks a little bit better. Perfect. And then I also want to change the background. So in order to do that, I'm not going to go to the 6 dots. I'm actually going to go to the column right here and click on it. Or you can right click and say edit column. Then I'm going to go to the style tab, and then under the normal and under classic, I can change the actual color right here. I'm going to click on my globe and change it to the orange color that we've been using for the entire website. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is click right here, which this is a WP Forms widget. And so if I click on it, it's actually using WP Forms, which back on our dashboard is our contact form widget, which was already downloaded with the template. So that's pretty useful. And I'll show you guys how to use this in just a hot second. But once you click on it, you can go over to the form and select which form you want to use. And so newsletter sign up form has already been created as part of the template that we downloaded. So that's really helpful. Just click on it like this, and it's already formatted and ready for you to go. Perfect. And so now we have our own subscribe to newsletter. And so this form will go to your admin email. So all you have to do is just put in the email and hit subscribe, and then you'll start collecting emails. So let's move on to the next section, which is going to be the testimonial section. And so I'm only going to change this a little bit. So first, I'm actually going to change this to the same orange that we've been using throughout the entire website. So just click on the divider, go to the style tab, and then change it to orange, just like this. I'm going to change the text style. So go to the style tab after clicking on it, and go to typography and change it to Work Sans. Perfect. I like how straight that is. All right. I'm going to change the background by right-clicking and hitting Edit Section, or you can click on the 6 dots right here. And then I'll go over to the Style tab, and under Classic, I can change the background. And so I'm actually going to go to an image that I have, Upload Files. Perfect. And then I'm just going to click on Insert Media. So now I've got this background. And then next, go to the Background Overlay, right below Background. And I'm going to go to the Classic tab. And then under color, I can go ahead and insert a black color, and I can increase the opacity if I want to, so make it a little bit darker. And then I can go back to my heading text, which I forgot to change to white, and it's already going to open up the style tab because we were just there. So I can change it to white. Perfect. And so this is our testimonial section. I think it looks fantastic. So next, let's move on to it looks like an image carousel, which is right here, and the contact section. So the contact section, I'm actually going to leave the way it is. I think it's perfectly fine. All you need to know is you can actually change all of this text. And so if your operating hours aren't Monday through Thursday, and let's say it's Monday through Friday, you just click right here and you can change Thursday to Friday. Just like this. Same thing with this right here. You can change the time. You can change the phone number just by clicking on it, and same with the email. And if you want to edit this button, you already know how. You can click on it or right click and say edit the button like this. You can change the text to something like contact us if you want. And then you can put in your own link if you want it to send them to a specific contact page. And then you can also go to the style tab and change its color. And then I can go down to the text color and background color. I can change the text color to be something like black, and then the background color to be white, just like this. And then if I want to make a hover animation, go to the hover, I can change the text color to white and the background color to orange. So when I hover on it, it turns orange and white, just like this. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and edit this image carousel right here. It's pretty simple. Just right click and say edit the image carousel, or you can actually click on the widget, which is right here. And we'll go over to the 4 images that are selected under the content tab, click on it. And we can actually edit the gallery, so we can change the order by just dragging and dropping like this. And then you can delete by hitting the X and minus button when you hover over it like this. I'm going to remove all of them and then say select files. And then from here, I'm going to go to my image carousel and take all of these and click on open. Perfect. And then again, if you want to change the order, you just drag and drop. So I like this one up at the front, maybe this one second, and this one third, because I really like those images. And then maybe a nice picture of a drink, just like this. So click insert. And then boom, just like that, we've got all of our images inserted into the gallery. And then every few seconds, it's going to shift through. You can actually change that speed. So if you want to, you can say slides to show is 4, so you can change it to 3 if you want. And now it's going to show 3 images, but I mean, obviously these were scaled for 4, so I'm going to leave it at 4. You can tell it how many slides to scroll through, and so I'm going to leave it at 1. And then you can change image stretch, navigation, and things like that. And so under the additional options, now I can change the autoplay speed, which is how fast this thing cycles. And so just to exaggerate, if I were to go down to 1,000 instead of 5,000, it's basically waiting 1,000 milliseconds now. And so every 1 second, it's going to shift versus every 5 seconds. And so I'll go back to 5,000. And then the animation speed is just the actual animation of sliding over. And so if you change this, it'll basically slide faster versus how long it waits to do that slide, if that makes sense. And then you can change the direction if you want from left to right. And so now it's going to shift this way. Instead of going to the other. But I'm going to go back to left. Perfect. So now that we've finished customizing a website, I'm going to go ahead and click on Update to save my work. And there's one more thing that I forgot to show you guys, which is how to actually edit the contact form, which is right here. And so if we go back to the dashboard, and remember, if you don't have a second tab open like I do, you just click on the hamburger icon and say Exit to Dashboard. But we'll go back to the dashboard, and you can go down to WP Forms. I'm going to open it on a new tab. From here, you'll see all of the contact forms that you have made. And if you remember correctly, newsletter sign-up form was one of the forms that we selected. It was actually the only form, as you can see, newsletter sign-up form. And so if I change the name, it would appear right here as well. So now what I can do is click on Edit, and I can customize the form to be whatever I want. So if I want, I can add a numbers box just by dragging and dropping. And now I have a place to put like a phone number. If I want to click on it, I can edit the actual field, and then I can change the name to something like phone number. I can choose if it's a required field or not, and so now it has the asterisk right here. And then I can also remove the field just by going over here and clicking on the trash button right here. And so you can create your own custom contact form if you want by entering in an email and then a name. So for instance, if I drag this one in here and then a name on top, looks like it dragged down here, so I'm just going to move it to the top like this. Now you can kind of see how you can create an actual contact form and then maybe a paragraph text at the very bottom and then say something like message or comment here. But I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these. Just like that. So I still have the same your email for the newsletter. And then you can click Save to save your work. Close out of that tab. And if you made any changes, just be sure to refresh the page, and then your changes will show up here. Now, the last thing we can do while we're in Elementor to customize our website to the fullest extent is add some motion effects. So if I scroll all the way to the top, I think we already did it up here on the column, and you go to the Advanced tab, and under Motion Effects, yep, we added the fade in earlier in the video. So let's go ahead and do some motion effects for the rest of the website as well. So when I scroll down, I like this parallax effect and how this is still inside of this box, and so honestly I'm going to leave this the way it is. And when I scroll down here, I think I want this entire thing to fade in. So the same as the hero section, I'm going to click on the edit column, go to the Advanced tab, Motion Effects, and then choose Fade In. Next, I'll scroll down, and I'm going to take the entire column that has all of this inside of it, and I'm going to make it fade up. So click on Edit the Column, go to the Advanced tab, Motion Effects, and say Fade Up. Perfect. Scroll through. The newsletter, I think, can stay still, and so can all of these. If you wanted, you could say this column can come in from the left. So go over to Fade In from the left. And then this column, you could have fade in from the right. And I'll show you guys in just a second what that looks like. Scroll through. I don't think this needs any motion effects whatsoever. Click on Update to save my work. And let's preview our changes right here. The title fades in professionally, so I really like that part. We scroll through. This title fades in as well. The menu slides up from the bottom, so that looks good. And then both of those come in from left and right. I think that looks pretty good. And then we have the contact section at the bottom. So now that we've finished editing our website and we've added some motion effects, we can go ahead and close out of all of these tabs and move on to step number 6, which is to edit your header and menu. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this tab and my YouTube video and Elementor. And now that we're back in WordPress's dashboard, I can go down to Appearance, hover over it and click on Customize. And again, I'm going to open it on a new tab like I always do. And so now we're actually editing this top part right here. And as you can see, if I hover over anything else, none of those blue squares appear, so I can only edit these. So we're using Astra, which is the theme, to edit the header of the website. And then we use Elementor to edit the actual meat of the website in between. So to edit the header, I'm going to go over to the header builder. And once we're inside of the header builder, it's pretty simple on how we edit. It's similar to Elementor, where we can just drag and drop these different widgets. And so right now you've got site identity and logo, and so that's the actual logo right here. If I were to drag it over here to the left-hand side and let go, you'll see that it moves it over to this side. So this whole thing is a grid that you can move these widgets inside of. So what I'm going to do is actually delete the social icons by just clicking on the X button. And that removes the social icons. I'm going to leave the logo on this side. I'm going to leave the button on this side and drag the primary menu up and over to this side. Perfect. So now I've got my menu on the top with a button at the very end. And then over here on the left-hand side, we've got our logo. So let's go ahead and edit the logo first. There's 2 ways to get to the logo, actually 3. You can click on this blue icon right here, and it'll take you straight to the logo. You could click on this widget right here. It'll take you to the same place. Or you can click on Site Identity and Logo over here. Now that we're inside of the logo, we can go ahead and remove this one and insert our own. Now, before we change it, we actually have to have a logo to use. And so I'm going to show you guys how to create your own logo for free without having to download any software. And we're going to do it right now. So I'm going to go up to a new tab and search something called Logo Maker. Just make sure you forget the E right there. And now once you're in Logo Maker, you can go ahead and just click out of that guy and click out of this as well, because I'm going to show you how to use it. It's pretty simple. On the left-hand side, we've got the basic functions like text and basic shapes and the paint bucket. On the right, we've got the color wheel all the way around. We've got saturation in the center, and then we have opacity right here. And then on the top, you can click right here and search from over 1 million different graphics. So what I'm going to do for my logo is first go back to the canvas and add a circle. just like this. And then what I'm going to do is go to the styles and choose cutout and drag it out, and it's going to cut out the center of the circle. And I'll go all the way to 99. Make this a little bit bigger by dragging on the corner. I can also rotate by using this guy, and I can drag it to be taller or wider like this. Drag it over here, and I'm going to change the color to be a dark gray. So you could change the color by, of course, using the wheel, but if I want gray or black or white, all I have to do is saturation. Next, what I'm going to do is actually duplicate this circle. So I'm just going to right click on it and say duplicate. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. Go to the styles and actually reduce the cutout by a little bit, so it's a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to center the two around it, just like this. Now I'm actually going to search for my own graphics. So I'm going to search for a fork. And I really like this one right here. And now I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect. Now I'm going to search for a knife. And I think this one's appropriate. I'll shrink it up just a little bit and then rotate it again. This time only 45 degrees. And move it over here. And as you can see, it's taller than the fork, so I'm actually going to shrink it again. All right, make it a little bit bigger. Perfect. So now I've got my fork and my knife. And lastly, I'll search for a napkin. And I like this one right here. Perfect. So I've got my napkin just like this, and then my fork and my knife. And so as you can see over here, I've got my layers. So right now, my napkin, if I click on this one, it's this guy right here. So I can click on here and actually title it napkin so I don't get distracted or confused. And then I can click on this one, which is my knife. And then this one should be my fork. Just like that. And then I've got my two circles. So right now, if I took my fork and my knife, I can actually highlight both just by clicking and dragging, and now I can move them together. If I put them in front right now, here, let me change the color of the napkin to like red. If I try to move both of these guys, it'll be behind the napkin. And so what I can do is actually drag both of these above the napkin, and so now they're in front of the napkin. So that's pretty important. And so now what I'm going to do is click on my napkin and actually paste the same orange that we have from our website. And all I did was I just went back and actually copy and pasted it from Elementor. And so now I've got my orange right here. And what I'm going to do is actually shrink up the napkin just a little bit and get it a little bit farther behind these, just like this. Perfect. So I'm going to highlight all three of them and shrink it a little bit and put it on one side. And so now I'll go over here to the shapes and actually add my own line right here. And I'll take this guy and put him on the top, and then I'll drop him down to the bottom. Perfect. So now my logo is almost done. Lastly, all I have to do is add some text. And so I'll click on my text option here and type in Sebastian's table. And so I'm actually going to duplicate this. So I'll right click and say duplicate because I want to make one text one color and one text another color. And so this is going to be table. I'll go to the style tab and increase the letter spacing like this. And so then for Sebastian, what I'm going to do is actually change the font category to something like fancy and cursive. And then I'll choose one called Pacifica. And then lastly, what I'm going to do is paste my orange color onto it. And then I'm going to change table to black. I'll shrink one under the other. Shrink it just a little bit like that. Drag it underneath Sebastian. And then I can highlight both and shrink them just a little bit more and drag them into my logo. Constantly making small changes, and I can use my arrow keys to move them around like this. Perfect. And that's my logo. So now that I've completed my logo, I can go up to the top right corner and click on Save Logo. And then I can choose No Thanks, download the low resolution file for free. Because right now it's asking if you want to use the high resolution file for $19. And so I'm just going to say no thanks. And when you click on it, it's going to download it to your computer. Now, I already have this logo saved on my computer, so I'm good to go. Okay, so after you save your work once, what I would recommend is also making this into a site icon. And so a site icon is just this little guy up here. And so what I'm going to do for mine is actually just remove the text. So I'm going to click this guy and delete. And I'm going to take out the center line as well. And then what I'm going to do is just come over here and I'm going to highlight my napkin, fork, and knife and make them a little bit bigger and put them in the center of the circle. Perfect. And then I'll just click on save. And then from here, it's no thanks. I'll take the low resolution file. And now we can go back to the Customize tab right here, and we can click on Change Logo, and then select Files. And as you can see, I've got all three saved. Now, I also created a light logo. It's the exact same logo, but with all of the dark spots, I changed it to white, just in case on a dark background, if it's a transparent header, you can still see the logo. And so I highlight all three and open them up. And now what I'm going to do is insert my regular logo here. It's going to ask if you want to crop, and I'm just going to say skip. And so you'll see that a dark logo on a transparent header with a dark background is obviously hard to see. You can't even see the word table right here. And so that's why you have to customize the transparent header completely separate. And so you can either click on this link right here, or you can go down here to transparent header. And then from here, you say different logo for transparent header. So you say yes. And then you select your own image. So this is where I'm going to insert the white logo like this. Perfect. So now you've got the light logo here. And then if there were multiple pages on this website and one of them didn't have a transparent header, it would use the other logo. All right. So I'm going to click back. I'm going to go back to Site Identity and Logo and go to the very bottom, and you'll see select a site icon. And this is where we actually get to change the icon up here. And so I'm going to say select the site icon, and I'm going to choose this guy right here and skip the cropping. And now you can see that my icon is appearing up on top. So I can go ahead and save my work by clicking on Publish. Next, let's go ahead and edit our header menu or navigation menu up here. And so I can go to the back button right here. And again, just like we edited the logo, there's three ways to get here. I can click on the pencil icon, click on the primary menu, or go to primary menu right here. Now I can go over to the design tab and I can choose to have a hover animation. So as you hover over these, they will actually animate. And so I'll say zoom in, and then I'll click publish to save my work. And then if I go over here, you'll see that they actually zoom in rather than just stay still. So that's pretty cool. And then if you actually want to change the menu color, so the text color right here, you can't do it on this one because this is actually a transparent header, so it's different than a regular header. So in order to do that, we actually have to go back one and go back to the transparent header and click on the design tab. And then from here, we can actually change the menu color. So the text, I can change white is going to be the original color. And then when you're hovering over it, I can paste my orange color. So click right here and hit Control V, because it's still in my clipboard. And so now it's the same color as this. So when I hover over them, they actually hover orange. Perfect. So I can click on the back button and say publish to save my work. Next, I need to edit my actual button right here. And so the way I do that is I can click on the pencil, this widget, or just click on the button right here. And I'm going to change this to contact us. Actually, something like hours in contact. And then I can change this to hashtag contact. And if you remember, that anchor, just like this, is going to take you straight down to the contact section because of the CSS ID, which I mentioned earlier. And so now if you click on that button, it takes me straight down here. So that's cool. Now I can go to the design tab just like this, and I can change the color of the button and everything. And so what I'm going to do is change the active background color to be our orange. And I'm going to change the text color to be white, which it already is, but I just want to make sure it stays that way. And then when I hover over it, I want it to invert. And so I'm going to change the text color to be orange and the background color to be white. So now when you hover over it, it kind of inverts like this. So that's pretty cool. So I'll click on publish to save my work. And so now our header is done. So the last thing we have to do is actually edit this menu. And the way we do that is we click on the back button and click it one more time. and we drop down to menus. And from here, you can see that we've got a primary menu already set up, and that was downloaded with the template. So we're just going to click on it and edit it. If you want to completely delete it and then just create your own, you can click here. But I'm going to click on primary menu. And so from here, we can just edit the one that's already created with the template. And so if we think about it, we actually have the About section, which is right here. And I believe it's already hooked up because of the template, so that's really nice. The menu section takes you straight to the menu. The testimonial takes you to the testimonial section. And then we don't have a gallery, and contact and then hours in contact is a duplicate right here. So I'm actually going to remove both of these two. And so the way you do that is you just go over here, click on it, and click on remove right at the bottom. And one more time. And then I'll click publish. Awesome. So now I can go ahead and back out of both of these two. And our header is fully functional. So you click on any of these and it takes you to different portions of the website. If I click on book my table, it takes me straight to hours in contact, as well as this button right here. All right. And so lastly, what I want to show you guys how to do is to change this footer right here. And so the way you do that is you just go to the footer builder, and you've got HTML1, which is basically shortcode as a widget. You've got the copyright right here, and then the social icon right here. And so honestly, what you could do is the shortcode right here is actually just using the actual text. So, or it looks like it's an image. And so what I'm going to do is actually just delete these two. So I'm going to delete this one. And then I'm going to delete the social icons. And I'll just leave the copyright at the bottom. But if you wanted to, you could click on this button right here, this plus button, and you could add a widget. And then if you were to click on it, you can choose what you want to use. And so you could do, a gallery. You could do an image and insert your logo. You could do a whole bunch of different things, but I'm not going to get into that right now. For now, I just want to keep it pretty plain and simple. So just click on publish to save your work. All right, so now that we've edited our footer down here, and we've edited our header as well as the menu, and we put in a button, and we've got our logo and a site icon, we can go ahead and move on to step number 7, which is mobile responsiveness. So I'm going to close out of this tab, and we don't really need Logo Maker anymore either. So now that we're back on the dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and open the website up on a new tab, and then click on Edit with Elementor. Now, mobile responsiveness is just making sure that your website looks good on different devices. So if I were to look at this website on a mobile phone versus you looking at it on a desktop, it would look completely different. And so we can actually edit both versions, actually all three, because you can edit a tablet version as well, using Elementor. Now, the way you do that is you just go to the bottom left corner right here, right next to Preview Changes, and you click on Responsive Mode, and it's going to swap it to look like a cell phone screen. And so as you can see, the header text looks terrible because it compressed differently. And so Elementor does its best, but we actually have to make some changes on our own. So we'll be changing that text here. We might make the button kind of appear a little bit higher. The About section looked pretty good, so Elementor did a good job of automatically compressing that. I might change the size of this text to be a little bit smaller. The menu looks good. All of the images compressed nicely, and then they can still click on the food and drinks right here. And then for the newsletter, I actually think that looks just fine. This button might have been compressed a little bit too much, and so we could change that in a second. And then the testimonials looks great, and so does this actual slider. And so as you can see, if I click on these arrows, it's the same images. And the contact section. So let's get right into it. I'm going to click on this guy right here. And I'm going to change its size first of all. Now, anything that you do in the mobile version, well, most things will not actually change the desktop version. And the way you know if it's going to change the desktop version or not is you'll see right next to whatever you're about to change, this little icon right here, and it says mobile. That's how you know I'm only editing the mobile version. So if I go to the Style tab and click on Typography, you'll see that the size of the text is actually still only regarding the mobile. So I can change this to be a little bit more reasonable, so something like this. I could increase the size more, but as you see, it starts to kind of compress wrong, so I'll move it to something like this. And it actually moved the button up just like it should have anyways, so we don't even have to move this at all. And then if I want to, I could change the size of this, but I think it looks just fine. And just to show you guys, if I go back to responsive mode and go back to desktop, the size of the text doesn't change on the desktop mode. So that's pretty cool. So let's scroll on down to this About section. Looks perfect. I mean, that's probably the best compression that I've seen. And then we scroll down here. I'll change this text size as well. So click on it, Style tab, Typography, and the size will just reduce. So something like this. Our menu looks good. The little subtitle, which you could just insert whatever you want, looks good. This part, we could go ahead and click on it. And then under the Advanced tab, we can actually reduce the margin, which will grow this widget, if that makes sense. So here, I'll just do it for you guys. If I reduce the size of the margins to 20, you'll see that it made the buttons bigger. But now you can actually see the entire text here. And it's full width of the screen. So that looks good. Scroll on down a little bit. And then the testimonials look great. And so does the contact. Perfect. So that's step number 7. We made sure that our website looks good for the mobile version as well as the desktop version. So now all we have to do is click on Update to save our work. All right, guys, that was my full walkthrough of how to create a website using Elementor. For those of you who made it this far, my hope is that you utilize this material, finish customizing the rest of your website, and make an amazing business from it. I hope y'all learned a lot from today's video and enjoyed the content. And if you did, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel because we're constantly putting out amazing in-depth tutorials just like this one. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.